What's good? What's good? We are back. Another live from Fayettenam Friday, live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And our guest just popped in. So we about to introduce him and bring him on. He's one third of a legendary hip hop group. They had about 4 albums in the 90s, and they've been compared to groups like Public Enemy, Brand Nubian, and X Clan. Let's bring on the one and only Culture Freedom of the Poor Righteous Teachers.
Peace,
How
what's
you
happening,
doing,
man?
man?
How are you, my brother?
I'm doing good, man. The weather down here flip flops, but besides that, we good.
Yeah, it's a lot of that going on around here, so we all got to bear with it in some way.
So I did my research. I want to start here. So it says you and Wise Intelligent been friends since childhood, around 11 to 12. And it said something about that y'all would run around impersonating, like, I guess, MCs that were already on. Was that true?
I think that's something Wise said jokingly.
Oh, okay.
Like we all did when we was kids. We said Run DMC rhymes, and we said a couple of the guys who was out, long before us, type of thing. But we wasn't like going out doing impersonations. Literally, we was just like, like we all did. Turn on the box, we start rapping with it. That kind of a thing. So yeah, in that aspect, yeah, we was doing that.
So the name Poor Righteous Teachers, who came up with that?
Well, we was kicking around some names, and as you know, as members of the 5% Nation,
Hmm.
there's a question that's asked, who is the 5%? And then the answer is who they are, the poor righteous teachers, and it goes on and into that. So we felt like that would be an appropriate name since that's what we're dealing with. We was like, okay, since we're dealing with that, what other name? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So yeah, that's how we came up with it. It comes from the 5% Nation. They are the poor righteous teachers. So that's pretty much how we decided to come with that.
So y'all formed in the late '80s, correct?
Yes, sir.
Late '80s. What's now? So y'all form a group. What's the next step? What's the process on? We got to get heard. We got to get exposure.
Well, I mean, the first thing was to just hear ourselves. We wanted to see what we
Okay.
like, sound back. So one day we went down my late grand Earth's crib, and she had a component set where you were able to play records and record yourself for tapes or whatever. So
Hmm.
I was like, yo, let's go down there. We had a radio, so we played the beat from the radio, and ironically, it was "Sucker MCs" by Run DMC,
Okay.
and we just start freestyling to it. And that was our first thing that we did. Like little kids. We was like 12, 13 years old, so we just wanted to see what we sound like. And once we heard that, we took it back, let his older brothers hear it. They was like, it's whack. Y'all need to do this, do this, do that. Y'all need to be more like some of the other well-established groups in the area at that time. So, we kind of took it to heart a little bit. And after a while went by, like maybe 3 or 4 years, um, hold on for a minute, my light went out. He we decided that, hey, let's do it again. Let's try
Hmm.
it again. And by this time, he was living on another part of town. You know
Okay.
what I mean? And by the time we got back together, he was Wise Intelligent. I was Culture Freedom. I was still messing with music. He was writing rhymes by that point. And he was a part of a group called the Magnetic Building Factors. And
What? Magnetic building factors?
the Magnetic Building Factors, yeah, they was kind of like rhyming real scientific, using all
Yeah.
big words and all of that. And me, I was a part of a group called the God Squad.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was doing the beatbox for them. And then I kind of like bought my own equipment, 8 track and all of that. And I start calling it the studio or whatever. And I was just freestyling. Like, I had a joint called Freezing MCs over the Biz Markie Nobody Beats the Biz track that I did.
Yeah.
And I just came through his house one day playing that joint. And he was like, yo, man, that's kind of cool. You freestyling and whatever. But he was like, this is what we was doing. And I was like, man, sweet, because their rhymes was, they was doing routines. I was just like wanting to just make rap, you
Yeah.
know, hip hop, so to speak. And we just decided, hey, why don't we just start recording at my crib? So me, him, and the other guy in this group start recording. And eventually the brother name was Godfather MC. And he just wasn't, I was just going to say, he wasn't as adamant about trying to do something with the music as we were. So because we
Hmm.
cut out a lot of activity, a lot of things we were involved in order to get focused on something we believed to be more positive at the time. So eventually, some things transpired, and it ended up being me and Wise. The group I was in, God Squad, they had got like a little local deal, and the guy was like, "We don't sign beatboxes." You know what I mean? He was like, beatboxes, they kind of come and go. So we just gonna roll with the DJ
Yeah.
and this guy. And I was like, all right, cool. You know what I mean? And but I told Wise, I said, me and you, we gonna still keep working on our stuff. And eventually that situation didn't work out, but me and Wise, we got a little bit more serious. And I knew Tony D from a previous situation with the God Squad. We recorded at his house, and he lived in a suburb
Hmm.
outside of Trenton, New Jersey. So
Okay.
the next time he came around the projects, because you know, Tony D kind of had like what we called back then a ghetto pass. So
Okay.
he could come through the projects, chill, do what he was doing, and everything, and just skip out. You know what I mean? Play some beats or whatever. So one day he came through, and I was like, "Yo, you need to check me and my man out." Blah, blah, blah. He was like, "All right, where he at? Go get him." So I went and got Wise, and Wise was like, "Wise didn't even want to rap, because because Tone was still saying like that Harvey Wallbanger kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And Wise was like, nah, I ain't spitting, you know what I mean? But then Tone tried to battle him, you know what I mean? So Wise was like, I'm gonna say something real quick and end this, and Wise started spitting, and Tone was like, because really all Tone wanted to do was to hear him, you know what I mean? And he finally heard him, he was like, yo, I want to work with y'all, whatever. So we set up some studio time. We brought in the Time to Say Peace sample. Um, and he brought in the first song we did was a song called Word is Bond.
Okay.
That's on Profile as a single, but we didn't put it on the album. And
Okay.
we did that, and then he sampled up the Time to Say Peace track, and we did that day, and that was our first demo.
Now the profile situation, was that because of the Tone D guy?
It was because, so there was a guy named Eric IQ Gray, right? And he
Uh-huh.
was he was if you ever seen the movie Beat Street, right?
Uh-huh.
The DJ on B Street, his buddy that was walking around handling all the business and doing all of that, IQ was a figure like that. You know what I mean? He was kind of a visionary during at his time, and he saw himself as a record exec or something like that. So he would carry his briefcase around, and and we saw him, and we was like, "Yo, why don't you help us out, put our stuff out?"
Hmm.
And he didn't right away. We had got with YZ, because
Okay.
Wise met YZ at somebody's something. And
Yeah.
they YZ end up coming around. Part my light, man. I got this ring light hooked up, trying to get more light. But anyway, YZ used to come around and in Trenton hang out there, because he was from Town, which was another suburb kind of outside on the outskirts of Trenton.
Okay.
And he came around one day. We chilled. We talked. He talked to us about putting our music out. His partner name was Tim Baylor on that end, and he had some stuff he was putting out on that record label. So we was like, all right, cool. And YZ was also a business partner of Tony D as well, with Two Tone Production.
Okay.
So we we signed a little contract they had, and then all of this, and then they was like, we're gonna put your music out next summer. And mind you, we was already in one summer. You know what I mean? And the style that Wise was doing, and the flavor that we was doing, we was like, yo, this is now. This is this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't want y'all to sit around with our music. for all this time and people peeping our style or whatever. So we was just like, listen, let's just before we even get started and get deep in the situation, let's just cut it. And I think at the time YZ thought tone had something to do with that, like influenced us or something like that. But that was the start of that. We was just like, nah, we don't think it's a good idea for us to do this like this. So we didn't go with it. And eventually we got let up out of that, that contract. And we went with Northside Records, which was IQ. He was like, yo, I could put your stuff out right now. It ain't nothing. And it seemed like, these guys were big time because they just, they had little independent labels.
Yeah.
And so we went with that, and that's where we released our first single on. But to get to your question was, we went up to this party one time that they was having in New York, and Red Alert was there, Jungle Brothers
Okay.
performing, and I think Mike G and Jungle Brothers and Red Alert are cousins. So
Okay.
he was there, and we passed him the record, and he checked it out, he liked it, and he kept playing it. And then one of the guys, the A&R name, I think his name was Manny from Profile, heard the record, and he called Red. He was like, "What is that record you keep playing with peace in it?" And he
Uh-huh.
was like, "It's the Poor Righteous Teachers. They got their own label situation, blah 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 blah." And then from there, he helped us get signed. So we actually got signed through Red Alert. Tony D did the production. He helped us with the production. But at this time, he was on Tommy Boy. He had a song called It's My Day. On the flip side, it was a guy named Gino G was on there. And yeah, Tone had a couple little situations going on. So, I mean, we wasn't small fries to him, but he had
Uh-huh.
his hands full with the ESD Posse, Too Cool Posse, and a couple other artists artists he was working with. So Red Alert was actually the guy that pressed the issue that got us connected with Profile.
Now, I interview a lot of people and they always talk about some crazy situations with the labels or something crazy the labels do. What was y'all's dealings like with Profile? Was it good or ups and downs or?
It was ups and downs, man. Like, in the music industry, you don't get what you deserve most of the time. You get what you negotiate. And
Okay.
that we was coming in, as young as we were, I think we was like 18, 19, fresh off the block. And we didn't get a deal as bad as some, but it wasn't a good deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't a good deal. But I would say this, when you at that time to have videos out, to be on tour and stuff like that was kind of a big deal because it's because of that deal with Profile and the 4 records that we put out with them is the reason why people know us. So, to take accountability for our own thing, it just took a little time for us to learn, like, this is that, this is mechanicals, this is royalties, this is you need this guy every now and then, you need this guy more often. So it was one of those things, where we just had to learn, man. It was a learning curve, and could it have been a better deal? I think, yeah, because back then, man, a lot of artists, R&B, jazz, you name it, was getting ripped because they just simply didn't understand the language.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it was one of those things, but it's not like a horror story. Like we didn't make any money, or we had to kind of pursue them after some years because of some other stuff where they wasn't giving us account of what was going on, and we didn't receive royalties for a little bit after they sold to Sony.
Yeah.
So yo, let me open this light up so I can put some light in. I try to use this one light, but it keep going out. So let me open this thing
Okay.
and put more light on. Pardon me, man. Just give me a second.
All right.
I don't want to be. Yeah, I don't want to be talking to you in the dark. So that's probably the best I could do right now. Hold on for a minute. All right, cool. Yeah, so it wasn't the worst deal, but it wasn't the best.
Well, let me ask you this. This wasn't a question on my list, but labels, I just think like they probably prefer to sign younger artists all the time because they know younger artists aren't going to really know the language and contracts. Would you agree with that?
I would say so. I mean, I would definitely say so because it's all about them. A lot of times they're not trying to work it out for you.
Yeah.
They're trying to work it out for themselves. So I would agree. I mean, they try to keep the music young, right? Because as you grow, you gain knowledge. After you gain knowledge, you should gain wisdom. And now you know how to properly apply that wisdom, and hey, okay, I'm not going to do this. I will do that. But this is why I say partly it was good, right?
Hmm.
Because they never told us what to say.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
they never
Y'all
was
got the
like,
musical freedom. Yeah.
yeah, they never was like, yo, y'all shouldn't say this, y'all shouldn't say that. I mean, I remember one time, back in the day, you used to be able to say gay or whatever,
Uh huh.
you know what I mean, and or use certain verbiage that people would be like, it wasn't no sweat off nobody's back to hear something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as the climate started to change, it was a show we had somewhere where they was like, man, they can't come because they said a word or whatever on their record. They made us aware of it. They made us aware of it, but they didn't say we're not putting your music out or nothing like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know, like I said, it wasn't always the best situation, but we had certain freedoms. You know what I mean?
And it seemed like the times have always been sensitive. We talk about sensitive times nowadays, but like it seems like even back then, you said one word and you said they talking about you can't come.
Yeah, it was like we had a show or whatever, and it was like, we're going to cancel the show because we
Man.
listened to the record and they said this. And I'm like, all right, well, we didn't say, all right, I'm going to put you on blast because you said this or you reneged on the show. He was just like, all
Yeah.
right, to the next thing. You know what I mean? And then the label didn't say anything else about it after that.
And that was the show promoters that said that to y'all that they were gonna cancel the show?
Pretty much. I mean, whoever was putting the show on, I guess they might have got flack from somebody.
Yeah.
And we was just like, all right. I mean, but to us, like, you got to understand, you know, we was from the hood, the projects, and we use certain verbiage every day. Like, it
Yeah.
nobody, I mean, that person could be standing right there. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was a thing like, all right, whatever. I know what I am. I know what I do, whatever. So you did what you did. And it was like, if somebody say something, it's like, okay, whatever.
So y'all appeared on King Son's 1990 album Righteous and But Ruthless. Did y'all already have a relationship with him?
Kind of, sort of. Not like so King's son was from more of northern Jersey,
Okay.
up there near Newark, Patterson,
Okay.
that way. We were what they would call central New Jersey. So you'll hear us say central New Jerusalem on the record,
Okay.
right? So we was referring to central New Jersey. But we heard we was familiar with his music. We were signed to the same label. So we had like I think we had like a meet and greet or something like that where MTV did like a special on Profile Records. I believe it was us, Sweet Tea, Twin Hype, and a couple other artists. And we was kicking it then, chopping it up.
Yeah.
And then I think Tone was going to produce him, and he had a partner called Troy the Wonder Boy,
Uh-huh.
and they were producing some stuff. And then from that relationship, Son was like, all right, I want y'all on this track. We worked it out. And then I think Troy is the one that actually dropped the beat for that. But no, we never like hung out, but we was always cool, it was a Jersey thing. He was 5%er, so he was like our brother. That's the way we looked at it.
Someone asked you about a track that you helped produce, Word from the Wise. It's got a sample from The Boss by James Brown, which
Well,
was
IQ produced that song.
okay. Okay, it said you co-produced it on
Well,
line.
no, Tony D. So IQ produced it and Tony D enhanced it with some drums and stuff and did the scratches on it. That's the only that song and maybe one or two more is the only songs where um Shahi didn't do the scratches on.
Well, when y'all did that song, did y'all already hear Ice-T's version up to that point, or
Um, we might have heard it. I mean, we might. I mean, but
because
back
y'all that was right at the same exact time that
yeah, but back then people was they would take a track and flip it their own way. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
There was like when there was popping samples, like James Brown, the James Brown sample that In Vogue used, and then LL used it for Booming System, and then you know, Total used it for Can't You See, and then In Vogue you for so it was like you could have like 4 or 5 different hits out at a time with the same beat. But it was one of those unspoken things. Like if this person absolutely killed the track, like I mean, like
uh-huh,
to the where you don't want to touch it.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, if I do this, it's not gonna have the same shine as the only one I seen do that was Ice Cube with Jacking for Beats when he kind of took all the like popular songs that was out at the time and did his own thing. But I mean, not necessarily. Some
yeah,
people have a problem with it, but we didn't really look at it that way. He sampled it, and we was just like, okay, cool. You know what I mean? Wise went in the studio. He had some bars, and we
yeah.
kind of got in there and did what we usually do. But I
I mean,
produced.
I love Ice-T, but all due respect, he wasn't out rapping Wise.
Nah, I don't think he would say that neither. But Ice T was for that time. Ice T has some bars though. You know what I mean? Like in terms like colors is a classic.
Yeah, no, it is, it is.
And it's dealing, based on the subject matter that he was trying to get across. That's a classic. Like we wouldn't have took
Yeah,
color. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
we wouldn't have used colors beat during that time. Because Ice T married that beat. You know what I mean? It was just like meant for him, his voice tone, everything. So yeah, but I would say Wise. But see, he's another Jersey rapper, man. So I give him credit. I mean, he came from Jersey and went to LA.
yeah. So I want to talk about one of my favorite songs and my favorite album for y'all, which is Word is Life is my favorite song y'all ever did.
Wow, okay. That's what's up.
And New World Order is actually my favorite album. Cause I feel like, you know, I always feel like artists are supposed to get better. Like if your first album is your best and you done dropped a bunch of albums, I think, I don't know, man. It doesn't say much to me. You know what I'm saying? Like your music should get better. So I felt like that album was really good. The songs were really great at that time. Do you feel like at that time labels were not prioritizing conscious music at that time?
I think they started to move away a little bit from
Hmm.
it because they was getting more into it was the bad boy era.
Yeah,
We dropped that around the same time that dropped. um it was 96. There was a
yeah,
lot on, with Big Tupac. It was just a lot going on during that time, and then Profile was actually selling the label to Sony. So I can't say in our situation because look, they already put out all the rest of the records that was conscious music.
yeah.
So, but it was a lot going
Lot
on.
going on. Yeah,
It was just a lot going on, and then that younger generation was just starting to come into it. So I would say, there's always been an agenda to stop consciousness.
mm,
You know what I'm saying? That's always been it, right? KRS said it. I mean, Public Enemy said it. Fight the Power. It's daytime. Suckers never play me. So there's always been a thing where consciousness wasn't as popular. You know what I mean? Even though the conscious movement was there, like put it like this: as we knew hip hop, there was all type of stuff, right? We had dance,
Yeah.
Humpty Hump. We had, you know what I mean, conscious music. We had people who was even on the club tip or whatever.
Yep.
So it was all kinds of stuff. There was a variety because when we dropped our first record, we was on tour with Ice Cube on his first big solo record, America's Most Wanted. So we was performing for the same audience.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then we had, Yo Yo Kid Rock, Ghetto Boys on certain dates. So it was a variety of stuff. I think it got to the point to where, they took out the learning and just kept recess. You know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
recess is important for your growth and development as well, but you need consciousness as well. You know what I mean? And I think, people just started. I would say like this: you had Chuck D, Flavor Flav, and Public Enemy, right?
Hmm.
It was as if they took out Chuck and just left Flav. Even though Flav has a certain level of consciousness, he was there to bring a certain type of, vibe to the music. But
Yeah.
both of them together was perfect. You feel me?
Yeah. He
So
played a specific role, and his role wasn't to necessarily be the front runner.
yeah, but so that's how I feel about hip hop in general. Everybody had a role to play. Everybody had a part. Everybody was speaking for the community because in our community, there's not just one personality.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like society likes to paint us as a people or as a culture one kind of way. But when you present yourself in another kind of way, it's like, nah, we not really, that's not the image, that's not the thing we want to promote. People don't want to hear about this and that and that, and they take it upon themselves to kind of like pull stuff and do whatever. But you know, people back then we just loved what was dope. If you were saying do the Humpty dance and the beat was crazy,
Do the Humpty Hump.
you know what I mean? Because I remember at our album release party, Red Alert was playing that. And
Yeah.
he stopped it and he was like, listen, I'm gonna play whatever I want to play. If it's dope, I'm gonna play it. You know what I mean? And we was in New York, I believe we was like in Queens or somewhere like that. We was downtown. And he played the joint, man, and the beat was, he said, y'all can stand around like wallflowers if y'all want to. you know, Red, because see, back then DJs broke music, man.
Yeah.
So that was the job. DJ was gonna break music. If it was dope or he liked it or he played it. You know what I mean? But once people start seeing the benefit, because you had the golden era. That's when people first start really like making some kind of serious money, right? Not the kind
Hmm.
of capital they be making now, but back then, and it was like, folks start saying, okay, this works. I get more radio if I do this, and I get da 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 da. And then, they start figuring it out. Like, okay, they start doing the numbers, doing the math, instead of just doing the culture.
So I saw where they label y'all as like militant consciousness. When I interviewed like Just Ice, he said he never labeled it, called himself a gangster rapper. That's just like labels that the record label put on him. Is that like is militant consciousness? Would you say that's a proper?
Well, it would
Um,
it will be militant to anybody that feel threatened by it.
yeah,
You know what I mean? They consider Christ militant. They consider Christ a problem, a threat to the establishment because he was going against the status quo. I think anytime somebody go against the status quo, they feel like you. That's why Brother Jay said, she said, now they call me militant. What does this mean? Do I carry a gun and live the army scene? You know what I'm saying? It's like, what does that mean? Because you speak in power, you speak in truth to power.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I thought that's what it was all about, right? Being better, growing, speaking truth, because the truth is the only real thing that changes you. You know what I'm saying? For the better, anyway. And I don't think we were being militant. I think we were just coming back into ourselves, right? Because if you have your culture stripped from you, if you have your God, your language, the food you eat, your name, everything that made you you, everything that you could use to identify with who you are stripped away from you, and now you have this rebirth of that consciousness. You have that rebirth because nature rolls like this. If you leave nature alone, it will
Mhm.
fix itself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you leave a people alone, or eventually they'll get back to who they were. They'll find themselves, right? Because that's just the natural order of things. But so to me, the militant would be the person who's always policing you, who's always trying to get you to stop being a free thinker, the person who's trying to force their culture on you, the person who's trying to force anything on you. You know what I mean? That's the militant. you
Yeah.
you just trying to survive. You know what I mean? And you know, we were speaking about that. We were speaking about unity. We were speaking about peace. We were speaking about, like the song you said, you like a word from the wise.
Word
On
is
the
life.
no, you said word from the
Oh
wise.
yeah, 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 yeah. The one earlier, yeah.
Yeah, so on that particular song, at the end of it, Shahi is scratching something and it says, "And well, ask my brother, what is he saying?" He's telling black kids to get a good education. He's telling black kids to learn the knowledge of themselves so they can love themselves. You see what I'm saying? So that was the message. Learn the knowledge of yourself so you can love yourself. Because if you during Jim Crow, they had a bunch of Sambo dolls and this and that. So it was on site. And that's why I say what we was dealing with is different than what a lot of people dealing with, because there's some things you can hide in this society and won't nobody know you doing or you dealing with until you
Uh-huh.
expose it or until you tell them. But being the original man is something that's on site. So they attacked our very likeness and made it unpopular to even look the way we look. So and they put certain ideals and lifestyles and they associated those things with that look, right? So as soon as somebody saw you, they thinking thief, killer, thug, murderer, rapist, ignorant. So we counteract that with consciousness. We counteract that with the gods. We counteract that with righteous names. You know what I'm saying? Instead of a name, a killer name, we counteracted ignorance. The only way to counteract ignorance is with intelligence. So, we had to be wise and intelligent. And what is wisdom? Wisdom is the proper application of knowledge. But first, you got to do the knowledge. You got to get the right knowledge. You got to get the proper knowledge. You got to get a proper education. You get a proper education that tells you, no, we ain't savages. We ain't beasts. We the original man. We the makers, the owners, the cream of the planet Earth. We the father of civilization, gods of the universe. We not none of this stuff that they saying we are. We don't, God don't hate us. God love us like he love everybody else. So you know what I mean? And what God hates, he hates. So we were not the hated. You know what I mean? And but there was movies, an educational system, a militant educational system that went about teaching us, this trick knowledge or these lies and poor self-image. So what we were doing, we were counteracting that. You had the thesis and the antithesis, and the only right thing to do is to say, nah, we not that. This is who we are, and if you really want to know the truth, this is da 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 da. you know
So let me ask you this. I saw where it said you worked on some solo projects under culture free music. Can you tell us about any of those?
Well, code free music is
Oh, cult free music. My bad. Cult free.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think for a while, like, so on the New World Order is where I first stepped into start really producing, like actually putting the music that I was putting to the drum machine out. And by that point, me and Shahi, we had grown as producers, so we started producing more. Like this, the song with the Fugees called Allies, I produced that track.
Okay.
I did some stuff on Wise solo record, Tu Shun Pang, his first solo record. I did Tu Shun Pang, Rastafari and Daughter, and I think of maybe a few other tracks. But on the New World Order joint is when me and Sha basically stepped up. It was like, okay, we grew into our own. Tony D had other stuff he was doing, and we was like, okay, now it's time for us to do this, and to take over fully. But I produced None Contest on the Black Business album.
Okay.
And Shahi did Get Off the Crack. Um, what was 144K, Nobody Move. So we were exercising our production skills, you know what I mean? And I would spit some bars here and there and sing, like on Shakila and stuff like that. But it wasn't until we kind of slowed down, and you know what I mean, and I started to explore more of what I would sound like as
Mm-hmm.
a as an artist, and just if I was rapping the whole song, what would that sound like? And in the earlier days, you have a few people saying, yo, I want to hear Culture do da da da, but we had a if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of attitude. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
we work together well, we gel together well. This is what we doing. So we just kept doing what we was doing. But with the Cold Free stuff, it was just me making joints, and producing myself.
Yeah.
Because Tony D, he never produced a solo song for me. Shy, he produced Get Off the Crack, which I rapped on that. But and then I rapped on what was it? Here We Go Again. And then I rapped on Me Fresh. That was a joint that Tone did, and I did spit like, maybe 8 bars or whatever on Me Fresh. But it was just like little things here and there. But with the solo stuff, I was just staying busy, staying active. With songs like Ain't Nothing. You know what I mean? Because I think
Yeah.
people thought like, could he really rap? Could he really so most of my solo stuff was just me showing like, yo, I could rap. I been knew how to rap. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, but my talents are has ADD, man. Because one minute I'm rapping, one minute I'm singing, one minute I'm producing. But with rapping, I was just like, ain't nothing complicated. Everything clearly stated. When I'm on the microphone, haters hate it. I'm underrated by so many. I don't be asking no more in this game. I'm like, straight gimme. You know what I mean? So my attitude was like, it ain't nothing. It ain't nothing. It ain't nothing, cause I, like everybody else, right? They say I am hip hop. You
Yeah.
know, I love the culture. I wouldn't be in the culture and be a part of the culture if I wasn't able to perform in the culture. And within Poor Righteous Teachers, you had all of the elements of hip hop. Mastered. Like, when I came in, I was like a master in the beatbox. You know what I mean? Like, Wise used to come and get me to battle cast in high school and in junior high. And then Wise was a break dancer, graffiti writer. Shaheed was, DJ, producer. You know what I mean? So we had all the elements right there within the group.
Uh-huh.
So Wise would be first to rhyme, even like, say for instance, Run DMC. Even though DMC was cold, Run was like the guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that just happens in groups, man, and when it happens and people love what y'all doing, I think it's important not to struggle with that.
Naughty by nature. Tretch was the guy, and Vin Rock was just.
Yeah, he was doing his thing, but
eh,
all of
eh,
my material, I write my own material.
Yeah.
You It was like, cause digging, me and Sha, we would dig together. You know what I mean? Like when he passed, I didn't get none of his records. I don't have none of his beats, none of that stuff.
Damn.
Everything that you hear from me is from me getting chops, chopping it up, and stuff that we went out and bought together. Like we dug together. We used to go digging in various spots. And yeah, man, I was just like, yo, whatever. I was like one joint, I was like, I'm an MC's dream, the glue in your rhyme scheme. No matter what, I still remain supreme. Got my own money, call me Akeem. I wasn't right too, I found me a queen. I serve God, so I let it be seen. Deliver rhymes like I'm serving a fiend. So I was just like, I think it kind of can create some kind of a complex when people think that, you know what I mean? And I'm a party rocker. My
Mm-hmm.
main rocking a party. And like one of my favorite artists was Biz Markie. And that was the first joint I rapped
Nobody beats the
over.
biz.
Yeah, and I rapped over that beat. So my thing was entertain people. I was a joke teller. You know,
Yeah. Okay.
you know what I mean? Like I was a joke teller, and I just put all of that together. You know what I mean? It was about people laughing. Like, the hood could be a very dry and a very dark place at times, and certain personalities help keep it live and funny and lively. You know what I mean? And I didn't mind being that person sometimes, and I think it translated over to the music. So I just played my role and played my part. That's why this one joint I said, me and hip hop, we go way back before blunts and crack, before Will Smith knew how to act. See, Free played his role in the back. Now I step to the front and spit it hard like whatever you want. So I'm trying to just letting people know right now, which I got some serious joints like for what, where I compare myself to money, I compare myself to a gun in the second verse, and it's more deep. I got joints that I did with other people that my man Neff 150 called One Time, One Chance. And this was joined during the George Floyd situation. And I was just talking. I said, all I do is spread love, never mind all the hate. I'll delete you on the spot. Ain't no trying to debate. To keep it all real, my ninja, we all great. Started from the bottom, showed up a little late, but I'm here now. Fist up, no fear now. Heard and felt everywhere now. People saying that they ready and they down for the cause. The revolution on and the devil's gotta fall. That's all they really want to see. Them stop killing people looking like you and me. Strange fruit in the south hanging from a tree. I'm not a villain. I'm going to be who I want to be. You're going to see it all in real time. Live it out through my bloodline. We sun people, so we going to shine. Before I leave, I'm going to get mine. You say you down with me, really, yo? Then stop lying and stop crying. You know? And that's a part of my personality that if you know me, you know. But if not, I'm more about, man, just positive vibes, staying, uplifted. Cause like I said, where I'm from, it's easy to fall into depression. It's easy to fall into a negative mindset. So like I said, I was always the guy that try to bring a smile to everybody's face, to say something funny, you know what I mean, to tell a joke, even if sometimes, because there's a saying that a wise man can play the part of a fool, but a fool can never play the part of a wise man. You know what I mean? And just like if you know Flavor Flav, you know that brother's deep. You know what I'm saying? He's not just surface level, even though he did what he did in the group, but he got a lot to say, man. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I just was like, well, now that we not doing this as much, now it's time to say it. So when we perform now, I'll do a couple of my solo joints
Okay.
in the show, and then Wise will do some of his joints from, his solo albums, and we just keep it pushing like that. But also, before I really start rapping, I was producing local artists. Like, my thing was, okay, we did our thing, we got a little shine, who's next? So I
Uh-huh.
did stuff for my man Don Black. I don't know if you heard of him. I did stuff for my man Mike Molest, my man Laquan, my man Stink from Camden. I was producing people from Philly. My man OZ, Ozzy. Um, my man Stash. So I was producing. That's what I was doing, working on my producing chops. In between the Poor Righteous Teachers records and stuff like that. So I was focused on that.
You said Ozzy, OZ. Is he like a light skinned cat?
Well, OZ, he's from Philly. He was a part of a group called Name. It was him and Grand Agent.
Okay.
Yeah, Grand Agent is nasty too, man. They was a good group, and Grand Agent still be putting out stuff. Actually, I he just released the joint that I produced for him, Taj from Souls of Mischief, and
Okay.
yeah, yeah. It's on my Instagram page, man. I produced that joint for him.
So what can we expect from you in the near future?
Man, just right now. So I'm 54 right now. I'll be 55 in almost short of a month, right?
Yeah.
And for me, man, it's just I'm still very much in love with the culture. So you just expect more music, um, just outreach. That's what
Okay.
focused on now because I just did a celebrity food battle. Well, actually, it's called Charity Chopped in the Borough.
Okay.
It's a suburb right outside of Nashville, and it was me and two other executive chefs. Uh, we were teamed up with some local influencers in the community, people who own magazines and different situations, and we paired up with them and did a food battle.
Okay.
It was to raise money for Habitat for Humanity, Second Food Harvest, and I think it's Amelia's Closet or something like that. So it was food, clothing, and sheltering that we raised money for, and I was on Team Food, and we happened to win, by the way.
So you in Tennessee now?
Yeah, I've been in Tennessee, man, for over 21 years.
Okay. My sister stays in Seymour, Tennessee right now with her husband and kids.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been staying here and going, back and forth up to New Jersey, Atlanta, just kind of moving around, man. I still got, footprints in Jersey because we did a play in New Jersey about a year and a half ago, and it was called Ghetto Gods of Divine Land. It was the first of its kind, and we did that play, and it was based on our music and stuff like that. So it was real dope. So we still do stuff there, but I'm concentrating on, man, is just figuring out ways to use my life and my experience in various areas, man, to help other people. I'm a licensed and ordained minister, so
Okay.
I do that. I've been a chef for over 30 years. So, I still do that. I operate a food truck called Hip Hop's Top Chef.
For real?
Yeah,
Hip
3 days.
hop's top chef?
Yeah, 3 days out of the week. That's what I do. So, yeah, man, I was the head catering chef for Belmont University for 5 years, and I catered the 2020 debates between Biden and uh Trump.
What's
Fanboy.
your go-to plate to cook?
Oh yeah.
What no, I'm saying what's your go-to plate to cook as a chef? Like that anytime you make it, it's
Well,
undeniable.
here's something ironic, right? So during the during the pandemic, right?
Uh
Um, I uh we was laid off pretty much, right?
yeah, there was a lot of people. Yeah, that
Be,
shutdown was crazy.
yeah, being a catering chef, ain't nobody getting together.
Yeah, yeah.
So while I was at home, the internet popping, so I was like, listen, I'm gonna do this thing called Hip Hop's Top Chef. And before then, I had a battle, a food battle. It wasn't an in-person battle, but I was called out by my man from UMC's NY Oil. And so I went
Oh,
on
Cool Kim, Cool Kim.
Kool Kim, yeah.
Yeah, I interviewed him a while back.
Yeah, so he did something, and it was all, it was all in love. He did something where he was doing something, and he was like, "I'm calling out all chefs." Da 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 da. So Wise was like, "Yo, my man, Culture will take you."
Yeah,
Right. So Wise hit me up, and I was like, "I'm game for it." So I did something. I think I cooked the salmon dish and all of that, and it was funny, man. Me and him was going back and forth. So it created a situation where Hakeem Green got in it.
I interviewed him too. Yeah,
Yeah, him,
Channel
and
Live.
it was another brother that was in it.
Hakeem could cook too.
Well, he, as far as I know, I mean, he dabble in the kitchen a little something.
Okay.
I don't think he consider himself like a chef, but
Yeah.
he dabbled around, and he got in it somehow, and we was making videos about each other and all this stuff. And yeah, so that was fun. So when we during the pandemic, I was like, because he called himself the Iron Chef of hip hop. Right. So, in traditional battle mode, I was like, wait a minute, how you gonna call yourself the Iron Chef of hip hop? Once Wise hit me up. So we was
Yeah.
battling for the title. You know what I mean? But so we they end up doing something in person somewhere in New Jersey, and it was all love, man. They brought a little potluck out, and everybody was eating. I think Hakeem Green won. I
Okay.
might have brought his mom's like stuffing or something like that.
Does that count? You can bring in your mom's?
I don't know. I mean, they was having a potluck or whatever. She might have helped him, but it was
Yeah.
it was real funny, man. It was fun, and but I did hip hop's Top Chef. I said I'm gonna let NY Oil have that because he was the first one to say he was the Iron Chef of hip hop. So I was like, I'm hip hop's Top Chef. Then you know what I mean. So I was doing that, and then I was showing all of these dishes that I was doing, and people was like, "Yo, the food looks beautiful, but we can't taste it." So that's when I did my put it in there barbecue sauce and rub.
Yeah.
So when if you was asking me what's a go-to dish, I would use my put it in there barbecue sauce and rub because the barbecue sauce, when I was working at this private club, and I used to make this meatloaf and make this homemade barbecue sauce and put it on there, and every time we made it, it sold out. You know,
Damn.
then one of my first tastings I did when I was a lead chef at Gaylord Opryland, which is the largest non-casino hotel in the country. I my first tasting to get a lead position, I used this special spice that I came up with. So during the pandemic, I put both of them out, and part of the money went to uh, second food harvest.
Okay.
Because when you laid off, you kind of still getting part of your pay.
Yeah.
And since I was eating, I was like, man, listen, there's people out here that ain't eating. So, and they was like, for this amount, you could feed this amount of people, 3 times a day. So I was like, yo, if you buy the barbecue sauce, then part of the proceeds is going to second food harvest to make sure other families are eating during this time. So my thing is, right now, like I said, at this stage in my life, obviously we all got to make money to maintain our life, our lifestyle, or whatever. But I'm trying to find ways to give back and use my skill set to help people instead of being caught up in the building all day.
That's what's up. That's a great story right there, man. I mean, because you just named a bunch of guys I interviewed. And Cool Kim always has that beats and barbecue every year. I want to go next year.
Yeah, I think he lives in Atlanta now. If I'm,
Yeah, it's in Georgia, but it's like it's not in Atlanta per se, but he's in
yeah,
Georgia.
yeah, okay. Well,
I mean, a lot of cats from up top moved down south. I mean,
yeah, yeah. I
you got
think,
Big Daddy Kane's in Raleigh. Sadat stays in Raleigh. I mean, he works at the hospital up there. You got one Lords of Underground. Last time I remember, Jazzo was staying in Georgia. Crazy Drazy was staying in Georgia. You
yeah,
know,
I just think, man, sometimes people want to change the pace and a change of scenery. You know what I mean? And we all most of our family migrated from various places in the South.
South, anyways. Yeah, everybody got a cousin in New York and North Carolina.
Yeah, I got family all over, man. Chi-Town, LA, I mean, you name it. Long Beach, Georgia, Florida, everywhere. You know what I mean? So that's where our roots basically at. And you know, it was a good change of pace, change of scenery, allowed me, like I said, to kind of hone in and zone in on various things like ministry. You know, what else could I do? You know what I mean? Outside of rapping and making beats. And also, you know, I raised two seeds down here. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I raised my oldest, which is Azalea. She's 32. My son Malachi, he's 27.
Whew, they
So
grown.
yeah, he done picked up the mic. So you know, he be doing shows here locally, like at Top Golf and stuff like that. So his
That's
handle
what's
online
up.
is Mally Got Bands.
Before we
But
let you go, man, any shout outs you want to do?
man, shout out to everybody, man. Shout out to, you know, all the true blue hip hoppers, man, from every area, every corner of the planet Earth. A special shout out to all my people up Jersey. You know how we do. Shout out to all my people right here in the Nashville, Tennessee area who's been mad supportive, showed me love. Man, shout out to you, man, for bringing me on. You feel me?
I appreciate you taking the time out, man. And you a friend of the show. More than welcome to come on anytime. I do live music reviews, so if you want to send me something to review on the show, I, please do.
Yeah, so I'll send you a couple of my joints. Just send me the info, and I'll send you. I don't know if you heard the whole album. I put out the laminar flow, and then I put out the tools of the trade. Let me
Okay.
real quick before we go. My man Neff 150 was originally from New Jersey, who moved to Georgia during the pandemic. I did a whole album with him, and unfortunately, he has succumbed to COVID.
Oh
So
man.
what I did was I took some joints from my tools of the trade, and then I took some joints that I did with him, and then I took some joints that I didn't release yet, and I just made one joint called Laminar Flow, so at least people would be able to hear what we did together and hear what he's doing. So it's called Laminar Flow, and basically Laminar Flow is the flow of fluid, a flow of water where it looks still but is actually moving, and that goes right along with me as an MC. It looked like I'm still, but I'm actually moving.
Is
You
that
know,
on DSPs?
that is on Bandcamp.
Bandcamp. Okay, okay.
Yeah, look for Culture Freedom Laminar Flow
On
and
Bandcamp.
on Bandcamp, man, and check it out, man. If you know if you like a joint on there, play it. If not, I can point you to it or send you one of the joints. But yeah, man, check it out.
Well, I appreciate it, man, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your night, man.
No doubt, man. Appreciate you. Peace.
All right, peace. Well, there you have it. Culture Freedom, Poor Righteous Teachers. One of the biggest groups in hip hop history. Really great into the interview where he told the story about having a chef contest against Cool Kim and Hakeem Green. I don't know if that's fair though. The Hakeem Green possibly had his mom's help cook it. That's kind of cheating when you got Mom Duke's recipes sometimes. Shouts out to my man Jones. Appreciate you. Um, Dope history, grand agent. Peace. Have a great born day. Anything on streaming and revolutionary culinary. I know, right? Revolutionary culinary. I didn't expect it to be some old Iron Chef or whatnot. Um, yeah. So I'm gonna be doing music reviews tomorrow. Sunday we're gonna be doing conspiracy theory, and we're gonna be talking about the topic is did aliens build the pyramids or help build the pyramids, and we're going to try to have about at least 3 or 4 people on for that. So anybody that wants to come on is more than welcome. DM me. I will send you the link, and it will be 6 p.m. Eastern time this Sunday. Also tomorrow I'm gonna do live music reviews, and I'm gonna also talk about the topic of Young Thug, where he was talking about he paid $50K for Gunna's album to go number one over the Weeknd's album at that time. And we're going to talk about that as well. I'm not going to get into too much of it. I want to say shouts out to everybody tuning in live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Shouts out to my man John Jones. Get well. Shouts out to Cultural Freedom for taking the time out. That was about an hour-long interview, and definitely, ended the interview off with a very, very interesting story. And it goes to show you that a lot of these artists from that era, 80s, 90s, they need to work together and stick together and stay associated and support each other's stuff. And, like I think if like all the cats from the 90s, like every time an artist from the 90s drops an album or a single, if everybody just, likes, comments, shares it to the story, you know, and you got like if you got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of artists doing this from that era, trust me, man, everybody's music is gonna get way more exposure. Everybody from that era of music that loves that kind of music, they're gonna see it for the most part because they're gonna see every artist that everybody's pretty much following that from the 90s, no matter what their followers is, they're gonna all see nothing but 90s shit, man. But cats are never really stick together totally like that. Some people unify, come together in small amounts, but we're definitely not going to unify as a whole anytime soon, especially not in this country. Not the way things have been going. I know that much. We totally divided. But I'm about to wrap it up, man. Don't forget, audio version will be downloaded and uploaded to Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Deezer, TuneIn, Stitcher, Slacker, iHeartRadio Player, FM, and much, much more. Find this little outro, and we about to be out. Peace.